Hello. Currently, we have pulled up here some breaking news. Israeli forces advance in Rafah. Health Ministry says Gaza hospital system will collapse within hours. Israeli forces are advancing in the southern city of Rafah, aiming to destroy what Israeli officials have called the last significant Hamas stronghold in Gaza, at the same time that Israel and the militant group are again clashing in areas of the north. The Gaza Health Ministry said Monday that the health system in the strip will collapse within a few hours due to a lack of fuel needed to power generators and ambulances, after similar warnings from aid agencies last week. Now, with another crossing closed, there is no aid getting through. Nearly 360,000 Palestinians have fled Rafah in the week since Israel ordered its civilians to evacuate. Now, Rafah is complicated because it was a population of 275,000 people with over 1 million people that were evacuated south to Rafah. Went from 275,000 people to 1.5 million people. Now 375,000 people are said to have fled. But there is still a lot of combat going on in Han Yunis in central Gaza, on one of the few roads that you'll be able to actually take. But this is in the footprint of 275,000 people already stressed to their max, and you dump over 1 million people on top of that, and then you tell all those people in the same fashion that made them flee in the first place to flee the south, the far south, to Rafah, to Han Yunis, to northern Gaza, wherever on foot. This is a trail of tears. How many miles must these people be forced to walk and subjugated to such cruelty? There is no remorse. There is no ethic driving this narrative that Hamas has battalions all over Rafah, and it's the last known location of Hamas. And why are they still fighting in the south? They're still fighting Hamas in the north, in the south, and central. It's all over the place. But we don't know if it's just from Israel killing people randomly or if they really are fighting people, because all the evidence on the contrary shows somebody waving a white fucking flag before they get shot. This is footage that I can't show here, and there's been piled up of footage in the event that showing a lot of people waving white flags before they're shot in Gaza. It's just way too many, and it's barbaric. Sharing it, would we celebrating it? I don't think so, but just in case, because it would be too much for YouTube. But these videos are out there, and it's horrendous. There isn't much else to do. See, I've been losing out of hope since I don't know, 3 weeks ago, probably 3 weeks ago. I've been running out of hope. Not that Israel will pull out of Rafah, Israel will pull out of Gaza. That won't happen. That will not happen. There's been over 35,000 people dead as a result of military operations on Gaza. We're not hearing about weapons confiscated, nothing of the sort. It's been weeks, months. I've been doing this for months, But it feels like that I just lost hope and needed to refocus my channel to something else. But with 360,000 people out of that 1.5 million are now evacuated to the central until Khan Yunis, which would be closest, there's nothing left. These people are going to evacuate to another area, but there's less than what it was in Rafah, at least. Well, I can't say at least because it's overburdened, to say the least. This is becoming frustrating because it doesn't matter what anybody says, what anybody protests, what facts there are that get in the way. This is going to happen. Israel has not budged even after the United States, said that we would not ship them weapons immediately. What else can we do? They use all of their dumbest rockets on these marks that they use AI to generate targets out of the little circles, because if they're in part of the circle in this AI, anybody around them and their family are casualties or killed. I covered this before in a previous article about Israel using AI to generate targets after target after target. It doesn't really have much of an approval system. It's just green light, mass murder. Now that we're seeing over 35,000, if you're in this system and they deem you to be a threat, they will kill your family and your friends to get to you. Even if you aren't home, they will blow up your house with everybody else in it. This has happened multiple times already. There is barbarism. They use the dumb rockets for the people that they don't deem as a high value target, so they don't have to come back around and say, hey, Israel has been using the international, what's the phrase for it? They haven't been violating any international agreements because they're not using their smart weapons. They're only using their dumb rockets to kill and maim, and drones. If they're saving up US weapons, stockpiling them for a massive front probably to Lebanon, because Gaza, I don't see them needing that much because they're not going into hell. Rafah is hell. And there's over 300,000 people, 360,000 people that are now evacuating north from Rafah. There's nowhere to evacuate to. There is no place safe. After the terrible murders of the people that were just gathering around an aid truck, there has been no place that's safe. But pushing people out again in the same way, this is what they do. This is what Israel does, the IDF in more particular. The IDF drops leaflets everywhere, like they did in several other areas of Gaza over the past few months. They drop leaflets telling them to evacuate to another area, this being north from Rafah, from south. There's nowhere north. Everybody just feels like just 2 weeks ago, people were just still being evacuated south from Khan Yunis. And now, this staggering amount of people that are now trying to make a trip to survive, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe they get further north where there might be trucks left, some aid trucks. No, probably not. I don't think any aid is coming through in days. And these hospitals are said to have only hours left to before they cease functioning. All these generators, they all run on diesel. They're not letting any of that go through, even before the complete shutdown of all but two of the crossings. This is what we're looking at here. Into Han Yunis, you can see the, I don't want to say decay, bombardment, the opening up of Han Yunis from the east to the west. Start seeing more track marks. These bulldozers they're using are heavy duty. They are a sight to behold. They're not normal bulldozers that you would see on a job for a house, say for instance. They're resistant in taking mines. Big difference. But also, there's 10,000 people reported missing. Do you think the IDF searches any of the rubble for remains? Over 10,000 people missing, presumably dead in rubble. But communication's impossible in Rafah. It could be people reported missing that are just in a different area that were just separated from their family. Just saying that it's harrowing because there is no communication. So losing track of your loved ones, you can only assume the worst has happened. Statistically, it's greater to think, not greater, what's another word for it? More logical? Just this horrific, overbearing drill in your brain that won't stop because you don't know. It's something that majority of people cannot seem to imagine. Just the plight these people are going through, not just that protesting, protest. You know, was doing a lot of talking about Gaza for weeks and weeks. And things kind of went silent for a little while. But if what Washington Post is indeed true, 360,000 people from the 1.5 million persons that were Palestinians that were evacuated south are now evacuating north. These numbers aren't just random. You notice, over 250,000 people, and more people have fled Rafah this week than there are actual people in the population of Rafah. The Rafah population is only 275,000 people. 360,000 people have left. So we're just dealing with a little over 1.1 million now. These people are, and all of them are all in terrifying positions. Either you're risking your life and your safety by going on the roads that have have shown to only end with suffering. Where else could they go? There's no central to southern Gaza is not what people would remember it. You're gonna evacuate to rubble. It is confusing that Israel keeps demanding that they evacuate, but there is nowhere else to go. But that is just so Israel can go. We told the people to evacuate, and only the non-Hamas stayed. That's what they want the narrative to be. They want the narrative to be that these people that are staying behind are Hamas and they can't leave. Why are they fighting in other parts of Gaza? It's not adding up. It is not making sense for what Israel is deeming them to be kind of neutral about this. Because if they weren't neutral about this, this would have ended a long time ago. Instead, they have their soldiers cycling out and just pissing them off even more. Start bringing in cycled new soldiers. It's intense to think the Israeli side of it. The unknown, the stories you've heard, the insanity. But to everyone else, it just appears to be a bunch of mass murdering. Why the fuck is that so? How is it that everybody is telling Israel to pull back before it's too late? It's already been too fucking late. And if they were going to pull back, scale back, they would have done so already. They wouldn't. They have nothing to gain except all of the lives to crush. And going back over, it's just wiped out. You see this? These are all buildings. This is from December. Now, you start seeing a lot of the foundations, buildings disappearing. It just gets taken down the rubble. All of this. Some of these images are cloudy, but this is a main road now that the IDF uses to get into Han Yunis and south. It looks obliterated. There is nothing fucking left to evacuate to from Rafah. This is Han Yunis on the east side. There's barely any buildings still standing. You go into, what's the last frame? May 9th is the last frame. And you start seeing far less buildings still standing. From December and onwards. Use these roads, these main roads. These areas right here like this, completely obliterated. You're not finding vestiges of culture. You're not finding what they left. These people were not evacuated in a kindly manner. They were brutally executed, murdered, if they did not evacuate. Because just like it's happening right now in Rafah, the only people that will not evacuate are Hamas. And the people that are evacuating, that are going to Han Yunis from the south, 360,000 of them, What are these people? They want to just declare everyone in the south Hamas. So, okay, you have this much time to flee, this much time to escape, to evacuate. Okay, so 1.1 million people still remain in Rafah in a footprint of a population of 275,000 people. What's stopping these people from turning back around if they are told to by drone? Or what happens if somebody in their party is taken out by a sniper? They're going into the unknown again, even though that most of these people probably are familiar with Han Yunis, Central Gaza, North Gaza, but they're not going to know what to look for anymore because there is no buildings left standing, as you can see. This time lapse is just from a few months, and already you can see just how much they've wiped away from Rafah. Now you take these same operations that they've hit Han Yunis with into Rafah, both over 1 million people that are starving, cold, hungry, dying, sick, malnourished. You're telling them after weeks, months of evacuating to evacuating, that they have to evacuate again after probably the longest pause that they've had. Now the people that left remaining, Israel has a formula based on the person's identity. If they are a high-up commander, if they are a commanding officer in Hamas, or at least a suspected terrorist. That means X amount of people can be killed in the killing of this person. This is how they're hunting down Hamas, is using AI to generate targets based on factors that put them in circles, social circles. It looks like Google circles, actually. And you can say there were 60 people, 100 people in a house and it was hit. That one person they were looking for weren't hit. They're still going to find them. It's like, well, we screwed up. We just killed a whole bunch of people that had nothing to do with any of this. And if for 35,000 people have been killed. Over 14,000 of them has been children. 9,000 women. Over 9,000 women. These are people that are getting caught between two sides in a war. One that's apparently allegedly used tunnel systems to get around. But it just is too much mass casualty. After mass casualty, there is not going to be any stop to what the IDF is doing. And everyone that is left in Rafah after they cease these evacuations, so to speak, all those people are fair game. They're not Hamas, but they're Hamas adjacent. They're guilty by association is what is at stake here by Israel going into Rafah. Rafah had a population of 275,000 people. Due to the evacuation south, it went up to over 1.5 million people. Now 360,000 people are said to have evacuated. Where? There's nowhere to go. Just pain and suffering and desolation. There is nowhere safe for anyone to live in Gaza, and this is what Israel has been doing, is making Gaza largely uninhabitable after weeks of bombings using all sorts of dumb rockets so they don't violate any kind of international law, any international agreement. But you can use all the dumb rockets you want, just don't use the smart ones just yet. This was breaking news earlier. Israeli forces advance in Rafah, southern city of Rafah. Unfortunately, we can't see much of the refugee crisis currently going on in Rafah, but we can still see what Rafah was before in December, before bombing, before operations began. Evacuating people to rubble, from rubble, now to other rubble. There is unspeakably amount of pain written on all the faces of all the people that are in this trail of tears. Rafah. If anybody thought Rafah was the last, like, they're gonna. This is why nobody wants to take in Palestinian refugees right now, especially right now, is because that country will get invaded. Israel will find a way to kill these people. It is like, you live and die in Gaza. They do not want you leaving Gaza. They don't want you being in Gaza. They don't want you celebrating. They don't want any of this madness. But they don't want you to live. What is it all for? More land? More settlements? Is it worth it to them? The amount of blood that needs to be shed? The amount of suffering that needs to be created in these little pockets of society that are dwindling down around them into rubble. It is not going to be without consequence. But what Israel does here is going to affect their relationships with other countries going forward, especially countries that export weapons from Israel. We're not going to have weapons exported from your country anymore. We're not buying any more of what you're selling. That is a good first step into making Israel, because if Israel remains to be a top exporter of weapons, and they're only turning around and buying more Patriot batteries, missiles, and all the money we're giving them is just going right back to us in USD that we give Israel. If they're just using ground forces and tanks they already have, what are they going to use billions of dollars for in a war that they have started themselves? I have not seen any clear evidence of Hamas being in any of these areas that are being bombarded. No tunnel systems. The only tunnel systems that I've seen are the ones that Israel has been dumping seawater into by the billions of gallons. This also has long effects of everywhere around, anything it touches. If there is a tunnel that they found, they're going to drain seawater into it. So maybe after a while they stop telling people that they found a tunnel or a sewer system, something, a maintenance hatch. But like I said, there's no safe place to go. With 360,000 people moving from Rafah out of the 1.5 million, there's no safe place left to go. There are ground forces and there is hardware in Khan Yunis. It's not just only in the south, only in the north. IDF is all over the place in Gaza trying to... I'm not sure what they're trying to do because it seems their mission changes quite often. From what we can see on the maps, we just see an erasure of culture, of history, of people. So after a few short months, these areas become rubble. And in the rubble, tents are put up in their place to survive, for warmth, to privacy. These things are important to people. Without basic needs being met. But when you know the hardship of these people in the south, in Gaza, in Rafah, evacuating further north, they're evacuating into combat. They don't know it. They only have leaflets. They do not have the internet. They have loudspeakers on drones telling them that they need to go north. They need to go north. They have leaflets that are dropped that say you need to go north. It's very vague. And by the time these people reach where they're going, where they think they're going, it's not going to be any place they're going to be able to settle down. It is going to be worse. And the people that remain in Rafah, this is over 1 million people. You can't just drive tanks into an area with over 1 million refugees in it. What is there, like 300,000 battalions of Hamas left? There's no number crunching, which is probably what they're doing to make this work. Say, okay, we have 4 battalions of Hamas left in Rafah. That's 20,000 people that can be killed. Something insane like that, but that's how it's worked out right now. And truly, I have previous videos regarding the AI technology that Israel has been using. It is absolutely repulsive and disgusting. Because no longer do you have a human being saying, yes, okay, eliminate this human being, their family and their friends, everybody is around them. This is becoming insane. And it doesn't matter how much of the picture that we begin to see, especially whenever more people are forced into a trail of tears. It is not without consequence, but I've yet to see much consequence besides students getting suspended and not being able to graduate because they no longer tolerate this madness. Especially befitting this freedom of speech on campuses. This is the one topic that was always off guard when I was going to school. Now this is everywhere. In December, I was worried about streaming anything regarding Gaza. That's how bad it was. Now, after months, it just seems even the staunchest supporters are running out of things to say and reasons to why this is happening still today. Again, Rafah, the city, 275,000 people. It became 1.5 million people after evacuations far south, that went far south. Maybe in hopes that Egypt would open up the border crossing. They would allow this. No one's going to deal with Palestinians because they're too afraid of Israel. Israel will kill everyone you know to get to you. They've established that day after day. They will kill everyone to get to you just because you are Palestinian. What part of genocide does this not ring true? U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told CBS's Face the Nation that any Israeli conquest of Rafah is not sustainable without a credible plan for post-war Gaza. Well, that's the thing, though. Keep having to UN staff member killed. Was a UN staff member that was killed with a car marked the UN flag in Rafah. They don't care. They do not care. They are just killing, murdering just anybody out here. There is no authority that is given the go-ahead. It's an AI system that is generating target after target. And based on the target, X amount of people can be killed along with that target. So you say 4 battalions are left in Rafah. You know, you're talking about thousands of people that are casualties. There is nothing fucking left to go north to. Khan Yunis has been in siege, and the you can see just how much of Gaza fades over time. Back when we can still see parts of Khan Yunis, where the mass destruction, east to west, is not going to resemble anything that people remember just in a few short weeks of evacuating from here. It is madness. Just how much of Gaza has been outright destroyed in a few short months systematically. These are not accidents. They're using precision weapons. They know the address of the people that they're looking for. They will bomb their house in an attempt to kill them and whoever is in there with them, even if it is just people that are innocent, people that are bystanders. But you see, the IDF has a formula for bystanders. It's to them, it's worth sacrificing some innocent lives if they're guilty by association with the people that they are hunting down. Yet no evidence, there's no tribunal, there's no court, there's nothing. There's no higher up to lower management. It is literally just a green light. to kill at will. A license to be told to kill by AI. This is dangerous. This should be let me find this article here. The machine did it coldly. Israel used AI to identify 37,000 Hamas targets. It is called the Lavender system. Absolutely heinous. Lavender created a database of tens of thousands of individuals. At its peak, the system managed to generate 37,000 people as potential human targets, one of the sources said. But the numbers changed all the time because it depends on where you set the bar of what a Hamas operative is. So they themselves don't even know what the fuck they're looking for. They just know that these people must be it. They put all their faith in an AI system that just links people together haphazardly. And then they go with this system to the point that they have killed over 35,000 people. 40% of those killed are children. Were children ever on any of these lists? It's real uncomfortable to think about them deliberately bombing children, but they have been. It is much easier to bomb a family's home. So you're willing to take the margin of error using artificial intelligence, risking collateral damage and civilian dying, and risking attacking by mistake and live with it. So you just put it all up to a generative system that takes people's identities and smashes them together and say, okay, there must be Hamas. We're not getting enough Hamas targets. We want to generate more targets. Change the bar. It is 972. This is from the 8th. Rafah in panic as Israeli invasion begins. There we go. Lavender, the AI machine directing Israel's bombing spree in Gaza. The Israeli army has marked tens of thousands of Gazans as suspects for assassination using an AI targeting system with little human oversight and a permissive policy for casualties. That I'm not going to go over this whole thing because this thing is massive. This thing is 972 magazine, Lavender AI. You should be able to find it with that right there. This goes into such amazing detail of the systems they use and the ethics that go along with it to continue a war using AI as the backbone of creating targets to bomb. And these targets that are created, they have a casualty limit. It's very systematic. So they have 30 people for this one Hamas operative that they are allowing to be bystanders. People that have nothing to do with this war, people that have only grown up knowing this occupation, with tens of thousands of people still left that live in Gaza that are in the West Bank. Nobody knows the fate of their loved ones. But Israel manages to find them all just fine and bombs the living hell out of them. Because they popped up, the AI popped up and said, hey, this must be a terrorist operative based on the circumstantial information that you fed me. Gaza isn't the biggest place, but I think that what are the specific criteria that Israel is using regarding the AI methods to generate targets? Does it matter? Because I can't get past the point of them using AI to create targets. They already have all this information. But instead they put everybody in these little circles, and I'm sure there is an image here. Right here. How does it work? You see this bullshit? This clip art, this... What the fuck is this? You know? This is an actual slide that the IDF used regarding Lavender AI to generate targets based on connections of people and persons, declaring them as Hamas operative. Because before that, I guess they had no idea how to ever declare somebody a Hamas operative. I'm sure they had their ways, but it was manual, it was method. People had to intervene, people had to say yes or no, people had to be sure. This takes away all of that and allows Israel to kill with no remorse. Because if they really do believe that the people they are bombing are Hamas and the people that are around them are guilty by association, why would they wait? They're not going to wait for further information. They already have all the data they need. They don't fucking care. Human life. Israel has been creating their own trail of fucking tears. The hundreds of miles of people that have walked already. 360,000 of those people out of the 1.5 million people are moving north. And you take a look at this circle here. Children, missing children. Oh, there's probably a child right here. But this slide shows just how cold and mechanical this is to them. This is a slide that won people over. Okay, this will give people less input when it comes to the murdering. These images are not very graphic enough to show on YouTube. Still learning this. Like bloodstained sheets, bombings. These are just a few images out of the thousands that are out there, just recent. There are doctors, American doctors, still in Gazan hospitals. Nobody talks about that because they're fucking dying. One's on an IV drip. A fundamental difference between the two systems is the definition of the target. Whereas the gospel marks buildings and structures that the army claims militants operate from, Lavender marks people and puts them on a kill list. The Lavender machine joins another AI system called the Gospel. This is insanity. AI should never be used to generate targets of people to kill. But it is. That's exactly what's happening. And people are being bombarded so much that eventually they're told to evacuate again. Evacuate south, evacuate north. These people have had enough, but there's nowhere left to go. There's no place that's safe. And it's just getting worse. Eventually, it's going to become unlivable, unsustainable, to the point that we might see over 1 million people die as a result of malnutrition and bullets. Children, there's still 180 women giving birth every day in Gaza, throughout Gaza. 180 women. Those are at least 180 babies that need immediate care, the kind that the hospitals that are just hours away from running out of fuel to support their needs would have to give. Israel is relying on AI to generate targets for buildings and for people to assassinate. This is... what more can be said? Is fucking insanity. Once you go automatic, target generation goes crazy. In the Israeli army, the term human target referred to the past to senior military operative who, according to the rules of the military's international law department, can be killed in their private home even if there are civilians around. Often by killing an entire family alongside a target. Just to generate targets, just to make it faster, just to be able to have people yelling at you so you can go to them with what they're slamming you with. Describing human personnel as a bottleneck that limits the Army's capacity during a military operation, the commander laments, "We humans cannot process so information. It doesn't matter how many people you have tasked to produce targets during the war, you still cannot produce enough targets per day." This is sick. This is sick as fuck. There was no zero error policy. How close does a person have to be Hamas to be considered by an AI machine affiliated with the organization? This is insanity. This is a huge article. I'm not even halfway through scrolling through it. Massive. We only checked that the target was a man. That's the only criteria that they were matching, is if it was a man. Most of the people you killed were women and children. You generate a target and it's at home with the family, that's the go ahead to kill them and their family. You put hundreds of targets into the system and wait to see who you can kill, said one source with knowledge on the system. It's called broad hunting. You copy paste from the list that the target system produces. Evidence of this policy is also clear from the data. During the first month of war, more than half of the fatalities, 6,120 people, belonged to 1,340 families, many of which were completely wiped out. This is so the people yelling about more targets stop yelling. We need to create a reason. We need to create a system that's more robust than human beings, to eliminate human beings. What the fuck are we doing? We usually carried out the attacks with dumb bombs. Once Lavender has marked a target for assassination, Army personnel have verified that they are male and tracking software has located the target in their home. The next stage is picking the munition with which to bomb them. We attacked almost without considering collateral damage. This is a massive article that I can't read all of it here. It is a lot of information. I don't think I went over this article, this huge piece, when I did a stream on the AI that's being used, Lavender. It was, I believe, the Guardian article that was referenced in this. The Guardian article does a great job with what is the bulk of this. Kill the family for no reason, and the person's not even home that you tried to kill in the first place. Sometimes the target was at home earlier, and then at night went to sleep somewhere else, say underground, and you didn't know about it. You still killed their fucking family. So what's next? This is, oh, that's the end of it right there. This is terrifying. This is peak military that we're looking at. Fucking AI-driven systems to generate targets. Okay, are they over the age of 17? Check. Are they male? Check. That's the only two bits of criteria that I see that they're using here. So, what 18-year-olds are around their fucking family, you know? This is terror. There's mass graves at old hospitals. This is getting worse the more information that comes out. And it should be especially damning for using AI for these reasons. All right. I thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Even if this makes it uncomfortable, still appreciate the company as we verify over and over again that the Rafah invasion is beginning. It's going to be a large ground operation, and I don't think Israel is going to hold back. They're going to go in thinking that with the last efforts of Hamas is within these ruins. And we don't know if that's true because the entire time they've just been killing anybody. Just based on some circles. If, you know, to anybody that would want to defend these actions, you can just explain this fucking circle to me and why does these people outside deserve to die. This is really fucked up to the highest degree. And I thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Please take care.